moving on from Arizona, let's talk about Missouri. So you will recall that you had a hotly contested primary on the Republican side for Senate. And you had three real contenders here: Eric Schmitt, Trudy Bush, or not, sorry, that's on the Democrat side.
Vicky Hartzler.
Hartzler. I always get those two mixed up for some reason. Vicky Hartzler and Eric Greitens, the former disgraced governor. I won't go into all the details, accused wife beater, all that stuff. So Trump was apparently very, very torn about whether to endorse Eric Schmitt or Eric Greitens in this Senate primary. And so he ultimately puts out, and we've got a little bit of reporting I'll get into in a minute about how he came to this decision, but he ultimately puts out a message saying, I endorse Eric. And of course, Eric Greitens and Eric Schmitt, they share Eric anyway, you get it. So Eric won. Eric Schmitt ended up winning. So the not disgraced former governor, the other Eric, ends up winning. And, you know, Democrats had hoped that if Greitens had won, that maybe they'd have an outside shot in this race. But with Schmitt, you know, Missouri is a very Republican state. So with any sort of standard issue Republican.
And he's already won statewide office.
Yeah, exactly. He's attorney general. So very much expected now that he will be able to prevail. But the details about how Trump came to this decision that have come out are also really quite fascinating. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. So we've got two, this is Eric Schmitt and Trudy Bush Valentine. Yes. Okay, go on to the next one. Inside the secret year-long campaign to torpedo Eric Greitens' attempted comeback, and also inside the wild Bedminster lobbying spree that led to Trump's double Missouri endorsement. So the first one, you know, Greitens was up in the poll, and sort of establishment Republicans were really freaking out about this because they did see him as vulnerable. I mean, they remember very well what happened with Todd Akin in the state of Missouri. This is a state that, you know, you do have ticket splitters. You have people who just would look at this and say, you know what, I'm a Republican typically, but this is just too far for me to go. And so there was a PAC that was organized with a lot of big money from, especially in state, to take down Greitens and to put a bunch of ads up on the airwaves talking about the allegations against him. And man, when they put those ads up, he just sank like a rock in the polls. And so this ended up not even being really close. The Trump part is really interesting too, though, Saagar, because you know, he had put out this message on Truth saying that he was going to endorse in the Missouri race. Well, apparently when he said that, he still hadn't decided who he was going to endorse. So when he was, you know, doing that terrible live golf thing at his golf course, he was soliciting opinions about what he should do. And it sort of seemed like his heart really wanted to go with Greitens, but and Kimberly Guilfoyle was on Greitens' side pushing hard. But there were a lot of other voices that are saying, you know, this guy could really jeopardize the seat and this is a problem. So ultimately, he couldn't decide. So somebody floated this crazy off-ramp of just endorse Eric. And, you know, then they both get the benefit of it. And then you can claim victory either way. And that's what he went with. And the really funny thing to me was that not only did he do that, but he literally called both the candidates and told them that he was endorsing them without mentioning that he was also endorsing the other Eric. So I'm sure they both were like, oh my God, I'm gonna win, this is amazing, whatever. And then the endorsement comes out and they realize like, oh, this isn't quite what I anticipated it to be.
Yeah, I think what's really hilarious to me is both the double Eric endorsement, but also that it's so shameless that Eric Greitens will never like leak again and be like, yeah, he lied to me. You know, he has to kiss Trump's ass for the rest of his life because who knows, maybe he'll get appointed. I'm sure he'll get appointed by something if Trump does win the presidency again. And he got a lot of MAGA people still love him because he was on the ground in Arizona for their fake audits. He was, you know, went all in on Stop the Steal. He kissed Steve Bannon's ass hard. I mean, you don't even need to run. All he needs to do is get appointed to like one office or whatever, and he's quote unquote back. So he's an extraordinary narcissist. It actually is like shocking in order to see somebody like him exist on the political stage. And Missouri does just confirm, though, that voters still can see through some of your stuff. Like, look at Eric Schmitt. He won 45% of the vote. Eric Greitens, 18.9, Krystal. He got beat by Vicky Hartzler.
Wow.
He only won a couple of counties. Yeah, he only won 3 counties in the entire state. It's like a sea of red for Eric Schmitt. So Schmitt, I think, is going to clean up. On the Democratic side, Lucas Kunce actually didn't prevail. You know,
yeah,
it wasn't end up
fairly,
that close.
fairly close, but
He lost by like 6 points.
yeah, there was a self-funder on the other side, and so ended up Trudy Bush Valentine. She's heir to the Anheuser-Busch heiress.
Okay.
To
Well,
the
I could see why that's important in the state of Missouri.
I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Democrats have a real problem with being obsessed with these like billionaire self-funders.
Right.
So she ends up winning. Ultimately, you know, since Greitens didn't prevail on the Republican side, really wasn't going to matter who won on the Democratic side. I think Lucas, you know, my opinion is Lucas was running a really strong campaign, really trying out a sort of populist left platform and leaning into that. It would have been very interesting to see how he fared against Greitens, but ultimately you don't have Lucas Kunce and you don't have Eric Greitens, so now this race is wholly uninteresting
100%.
by and large.
Right.
So
yeah, put that up from Kyle Kondik. That's what he makes the call. It's
yes,
like, look,
exactly.
This is a safe R seat now. There's really just not a lot going on. So
Yes.
anyway, that's how the primaries shook out. It was very interesting night for America. In some, I would say Trump's strength in the GOP is still extraordinary. The impeachment clearly is going against most voters, but on the abortion side, some potential harbingers of things to come.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.